Welcome to Midnight Vibes. Tonight's tale is unlike any other because in this story, a ghost does more than haunt. She speaks, and her voice from beyond the grave leads to justice. This is the chilling legend of the Greenbrier Ghost. In 1897, in Greenbrier County, West Virginia, a young woman named Zona Heaster Shue was found dead in her home. Her death was ruled natural, childbirth complications, the doctors said. Her husband, Erasmus Trout Shue, insisted on burying her quickly. But Zona's mother, Mary Jane Heaster, felt something was terribly wrong. And then the ghost appeared. Mary Jane claimed her daughter's spirit came to her 4 nights in a row. The ghost revealed the truth. Zona had not died from illness. She had been murdered by her husband. She described in detail how Trout Shue had broken her neck in a fit of rage. Mary Jane listened, and she believed. As the ghost told her story, Mary Jane rose from her bed and began writing down every word. What follows is exactly what the ghost told her, straight from the grave. I want you to know how I died. I was standing in the door of the room and Trout struck me with his fist in the left side of my neck. He struck me again and I fell across the bed. Then he carried me to the washroom and laid me on the floor. That was the last thing I remember. When I regained consciousness, I was in a coffin being lowered into the ground. I could see him leaving the grave with the doctor. He told them that I died from the effect of a pain in my neck which he caused. Mary Jane knew she had to act. Fueled by these visions, she demanded an investigation. The local sheriff, C.C. Lowe, was skeptical, but eventually relented. The body of Zona Shue was exhumed and taken to a nearby medical examiner. Doctors examined her remains and found exactly what the ghost had claimed. Her neck was broken. The official cause of death, strangulation. Trout Shue was arrested, tried, and convicted of murder. But here's the strangest part. The ghost's testimony, Mary Jane repeating her daughter's words, was admitted into court. And though the jury claimed they relied on physical evidence, the story of the ghost became forever linked to the case. To this day, the Greenbrier Ghost remains the only known instance in American history where a spirit's testimony helped convict a murderer. But enough about the story. Let's talk about why it matters. We often think of ghosts as passive presences, figures from the past whose spirits linger in the world of the living. They're there, but they're not here. Their existence is suggested through creaking floorboards, flickering lights, or objects moved mysteriously by unseen hands. But rarely, in some rare cases, ghosts are active, speaking to us from beyond the grave, trying to make themselves heard. In the case of the Greenbrier Ghost, Mary Jane wasn't just a passive witness to ghostly events. She was an active participant. She didn't simply see, hear, and report the visions she experienced. She engaged with them, asking questions and receiving answers. And when the ghost told her story, she wrote it down. So instead of letting the ghost's message fade away with the morning light, she captured it, held on to it, and used it as the foundation of her fight for justice. This idea of passive versus active ghosts is explored brilliantly in the writings of Henry James, particularly his famous story, The Turn of the Screw. Published in 1898, just 1 year after the Greenbrier Ghost trial. The Turn of the Screw tells the story of a young governess who becomes convinced that the 2 children she cares for are being haunted by the ghosts of former servants. But are the ghosts real or figments of the governess's imagination? It's never quite clear, and that's why the story is so brilliant. Unlike many ghost stories where the supernatural is clearly defined, in The Turn of the Screw, James keeps us guessing. Yet even in his most famous story, James doesn't shy away from showing ghosts as active presences. For example, in one scene, the governess feels the touch of one of the ghosts. She reaches out to find him, but he's gone. The ghost has vanished, leaving her hand empty and groping in midair. Like Mary Jane, the governess holds on to this experience, desperate to understand what she's witnessed. But as the story unfolds, we realize that holding on to the ghost, trying to understand it, may be dangerous. It blurs the line between the living and the dead, and the governess, consumed by her experiences, ultimately loses her grip on reality. Unlike Mary Jane, who successfully used the ghost's message to bring her daughter's killer to justice, the governess is overwhelmed by the ghost. She becomes one with them. And the ending, ambiguous and unsettling, suggests that she might be better off if she'd done the same. Though the ghost in The Turn of the Screw is never as clear or direct as the ghost that visited Mary Jane, there is a similar sense of urgency, a feeling that the ghost wants to be heard. Both ghosts reach out from beyond the grave, desperate to tell their stories, and both women listen. But their reactions couldn't be more different. One turns inward and becomes lost in a world of shadows and uncertainty. The other turns outward, confronting the darkness with the light of day, determined to set the record straight. Mary Jane was a strong believer in the power of the dead to influence the living, and she saw the ghost not as a frightening apparition, but as a messenger from beyond the grave. In her journal, she wrote, "My dear daughter, though your body may be dead and buried, yet your spirit lives and works for justice. Oh, how proud I am of you, my darling." But let's go even deeper. Why do these stories matter today? Because the ability to communicate with the dead is something people around the world have experienced for centuries. In cultures across the globe, there are countless tales of spirits reaching out to the living, trying to tell their stories, deliver messages, or seek retribution. For example, in China, the Hungry Ghost Festival is a time when the veil between the living and the dead is at its thinnest, allowing spirits to roam the earth and communicate with those still living. During this festival, families gather to honor their ancestors and appease any restless spirits that might be lingering nearby. In Japan, the Obon Festival is celebrated with bonfires and dancing to welcome the spirits of deceased loved ones back to the family home. The emphasis here is on community and remembrance, keeping the traditions and values of the ancestors alive in the hearts of the living. And in the Caribbean, the belief in communication with the dead is central to the religion of Santeria. Practitioners of Santeria often consult with the spirits of their ancestors for guidance and protection, and they believe that these spirits can intervene in the affairs of the living to bring about positive change. These are just a few examples. There are many others. So the question is, why do these stories endure? Why do humans across the world need to believe that the dead can speak to the living? Perhaps it's because we're naturally curious about what lies beyond this life. Or maybe it's because we need comfort in knowing that our loved ones are watching over us even after they're gone. Whatever the reason, the fact remains that stories of ghosts and spirits are some of the most popular and enduring tales ever told. So what do you think? Did a grieving mother's visions reveal the truth? Or was Zona's ghost really there, reaching out from the grave to demand justice? You've been listening to Midnight Vibes. If you believe the dead can speak to the living, share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more real horror, hauntings, and unsolved mysteries. Until next time, remember sometimes justice is delivered by the dead.